Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new, my name is Andrea. I love filming videos all about cruelty-free beauty products, and one of my favorite makeup products would be eyeshadow palettes. I love eyeshadow palettes so much, and I feel like this year I've slowed down when it comes to buying a ton of palettes, but there are still so many in my collection that I love to wear, and it's just my favorite step in my makeup routine. I think the brand that I have the most of when it comes to eyeshadow palettes is ColourPop. I just really like their formula. I like the fact that they do neutral palettes, but they also do colorful palettes. They have unique options. They have like daily go-to staples. I've tried a ton of their palettes throughout the years, and I was on their website the other day and they have so many palettes. So I wanted to share my top 10 with you in today's video in case you're looking to try one, but you don't know where to start. Maybe you're a little bit overwhelmed when you scroll through all of their palettes. Hopefully today's video can be helpful for you. I do have a mix of neutral palettes and colorful palettes that are a little bit more unique. So let's jump into it. The first one I wanted to share with you guys in today's video is a little more of a unique palette, and I actually thought this was discontinued. I didn't realize it was still available until I was on ColourPop's website the other day, just kind of scrolling through and seeing what they had, and it is still available. So if you missed out on it, this is such a good palette. It's so unique to my collection. It is the Disney Tinkerbell Sprinkle a Little Magic palette. ColourPop does do a lot of Disney collabs, and I find that typically the Disney palettes are a little more neutral. They're kind of subdued, and I understand why, because they are maybe appealing to a larger demographic. But this is one of their more unique palettes, and I think it is so beautiful. When I initially saw this color story, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do just a lot of complete looks with it, but I find that it's so unique and the colors kind of combine to create the most gorgeous makeup looks. I just love the colors in here. Obviously, you get your staple greens because it is a Tinkerbell themed palette. You also get a gorgeous green gold that is so pretty layered on top of these. And then I like that you get a couple of pinks because it just adds like a pop of color that's not green. And the pinks and the greens go really well together. And then you also get this kind of like pinky bronze as well. This is such an interesting palette. I feel like no matter what type of look I do, when I use this palette, it always turns out really interesting, but really, really pretty at the same time. So like I said, I thought this was discontinued, but it is still available. I do have a coupon code with ColourPop. If you use my name, Andrea, you can actually get 10% off your order, and you can use it on pretty much everything. Sometimes the Disney collabs are excluded, but if you're placing an order and you want a little bit of a discount, you can use my code. It is an affiliate code, so thank you if you do decide to use it. I don't think I'll go in any particular order. I'll just kind of share all of my favorites with you. So another palette that I love is the Wine and Only palette. This is one that I typically wear during the fall and the winter, not as much during the spring and the summertime, but it is a super rich, really intense, vibrant, berry toned palette. If you like a lot of pigmentation when it comes to your eyeshadows, this is a great option to try because these shadows are really intense. A little bit goes an extremely long way with this one. I don't think I've ever gotten a subtle eyeshadow look with this palette, but I love it because you can create the most beautiful, dramatic, berry toned smoky eye. The matte shadows are really easy to work with, even though they are super pigmented. They don't look patchy on the eyes at all, and the metallic shadows are really rich, super intense. So if you do love a really gorgeous, vibrant, berry toned palette, this one is an amazing option. I reach for this over high-end eyeshadows that look kind of similar because this one works so well. Another one of my favorite colorful palettes is this one. This one is an older eyeshadow palette, so I feel like at this point there is a chance that you might have tried this one because it's been on the website for a while. It's called It's My Pleasure, and this one is more of a true purple palette. It does have a mix of like purples and pinks. ColourPop also has a pastel purple palette called Lilac You A Lot, which I think is really pretty, but I like this one because it has more variation. Sometimes when it comes to their monochromatic palettes, you almost end up with the same look every time. But one of the reasons why I like this one is because there's more variation, so you can create quite a few different looks using this. You get true purple shadows, you get a few pink tones, a neutral, a deeper shadow to make it a little more dark and dramatic, and I just find that when I use this palette, there are quite a few looks that I can create, even though it only comes with 9 shadows. I love it. It's been one of my staples ever since they launched it a few years ago, and I know there are brands or high-end brands that make like pink and purple toned palettes, but if you don't want to spend the money on like a $50, $60 eyeshadow palette at Sephora with these shades, This one is definitely worth checking out. I think the quality is just as good as a high-end palette. And if this isn't a color story that you wear every single day, it might be a better option to, purchase something that's not as expensive, but you'll still love the formula. ColourPop does have quite a few mega palettes. Their mega palettes come with 30 eyeshadows, and there are two that I wanted to share with you guys in today's video. It's funny because I'm not typically the biggest fan of large eyeshadow palettes. I usually like something a little smaller, more compact, but I think as far as big eyeshadow palettes go, their mega palettes are not uncomfortable to hold. They're not so large that they're hard to store. They're almost on the smaller side for a larger palette. And I actually think you get a really good deal in terms of value because you get everything you could need in one palette. So if you only wear matte shadows, they have a fully matte palette. If you only wear warm toned neutrals, they have one of those, a cool toned neutral palette. But one of my favorites is this one. They launched this one last fall and I just love it. It's called It's a Mood. And this one comes with the most beautiful range of jewel tones. I love the way this is laid out. It's so easy to work with. It's so easy to understand. Sometimes when it comes to colorful makeup, if it's not something you wear all the time, it can be a little bit overwhelming. It can be hard to know which shades go together. But this palette is laid out in a way that's easy to understand. So if you want to do a green look, you can just go in with this row. If you want to do a blue look, you have this row. Purple, orange, you get the point. And it's really nice because you get different finishes, different shades within each color story. This is definitely one of the best palettes they've done, in my opinion. I think it's unique, but it's also really approachable, really easy to work with. Now this one does have a couple of pressed glitters in it. The ones that I mentioned earlier don't have any pressed glitters, but if you don't like glitter in your eyeshadow palettes, I just wanted to mention that for this one. I really do think this is a beautiful option. If you're someone who likes to incorporate color, but you're not sure where to start or you don't feel like you need separate like purple, blue, and green palettes, this is a perfect way to add color to your makeup collection without buying a ton of different options. And I just love it. I know that I'll be wearing this one a ton once fall comes, and I've actually worn it a lot during the summer as well, just because it has everything you need in one place. The other mega palette that I love is this one. This one is the Rock Candy palette. So like I said, they do have like fully neutral, larger palettes, but I like this one because you get a mix of neutral shadows and then you get a few subtle pops of color. So overall, this leans very cool toned, which I do enjoy. I wear this one a lot during the winter time, and you get a row of like these beautiful silvery grays, you get some pinks, you get some browns, and you get some taupes as well. So if you tend to wear a lot of neutral colors, especially cooler tone neutral colors, I think you'll really enjoy this one. But again, I like that they have a few more colorful options in here. Nothing as colorful as It's a Mood, but it's a nice way to incorporate just subtle hints of color while keeping your eye mainly neutral. You can also do something really soft and subtle if you stick with the top of the palette, or you can do something really smoky and dramatic if you move down to the bottom. So I just find that this one really comes in handy, especially during the winter time. Again, this one has a few pressed glitters in it, so just keep that in mind if you're thinking about buying it. But I personally prefer this one to the other like fully neutral palettes they have on their website, just because I think it's a little more interesting and the shades don't feel as repetitive. Let me clarify, when I say I prefer that one to the other fully neutral palettes, I mean like the other fully neutral mega palettes. ColourPop actually has a ton of smaller neutral palettes on their website, so if you feel like you don't need a mega palette, which is totally understandable, they actually have some smaller options. These are two of my favorites. I've used these for years. I actually ended up repurchasing this one not too long ago because I did hit pan on quite a few of the shades. This is ColourPop's Nude Mood. This really is like my staple go-to daily palette when I want a little bit more of a warm-toned eyeshadow look, but nothing as intense as I'm wearing today. I just think it is perfect for easy, quick, staple looks. The matte shadows are very easy to work with, and I love taking this golden shade right in the center or this Super Shock shadow and placing it all over the lid. And I find that this really is just one of my go-tos. When I don't know what type of look to do, when I don't have a lot of time, or I just don't have the energy to put a lot of thought into my eyeshadow, this one is absolutely perfect. I also like Going Coconuts. That one is more of a neutral undertoned palette compared to this one, which is a little bit warmer. And if you want something that's a little bit cooler, I recommend That's Taupe. This is one of my most used, most loved palettes. You can do something really soft, you can do something a little more dramatic and smoky, and I think when it comes to cooler toned palettes, sometimes they can look a little bit dull on the eyes, but I love this one because you get a couple of like rosier toned, cool tone shades in here that look really pretty on the eyes. This is the most gorgeous shimmer. It makes your eyes look super reflective, and I feel like it just adds to whatever sort of look I'm doing. So again, this one is a great option for everyday wear, but I think it goes a little bit deeper than Nude Mood, so I also like using it if I want more of a dramatic smoky eye as well. This is a little bit of a newer launch that I've just been loving. I've been wearing it so much this summer. It's called In the Springs. This is a very warm toned palette with a few pops of blue. So you get like those orangey red tones, you get just like full on bright oranges, a few golden shades, and then blues. And I've been loving this one a lot because as much as I do love color, sometimes I'm not feeling like a fully blue look or a fully orange look, but this makes it a little bit easier to incorporate color because I can do something a little more subtle on the lid and then add a pop of blue on the lower lash line or the inner corner. I just think this palette is the perfect color combination. It's super easy to work with. There are no pressed glitters in here. Everything just blends out super easily. And then you get one super shock shadow, which I love because if you layer this on top of the metallics, it really makes them pop. So this one has been one of my absolute favorites. It's a little bit of a newer launch, but I've used it so much. Last summer, I think it was last summer, or was it 2 summers ago? I can't remember, but this palette is still available. Whether it was last summer or the summer before, they launched this really fun Barbie ColourPop collab. And again, kind of along the same lines, this is more of a warm-toned palette with a few pops of blue, but this one's a little bit more colorful because you also get pinks, you get yellows, you get a few neutrals, you get oranges. You really have everything you need in here for a really fun, bright, warm, colorful look. I think the quality of this palette is really good. The matte shadows are really rich, super intense, and the shimmer shadows are really soft and blendable. So sometimes, again, when it comes to their collab palettes, they can be a little more subtle or just subdued overall, but this one is definitely bright, super colorful, and fun. I think it is a really good option for summertime, but just a really nice option in general if you do like more colorful shadows, but you get a couple of neutrals in here to kind of tone it down too. So I've enjoyed this one a lot, and it's really become a staple of mine, one of my top ColourPop palettes of all time. The last palette I want to share with you guys is this one. This is more of a subdued palette, but I think it's really interesting, and whenever I use it, I always love how my makeup turns out. It's called Lust for Dusk. If you're someone who is intimidated by color, if you just don't like really vibrant, colorful eyeshadow, but you're kind of curious to switch up your look or try something a little different, this could be such a great option for you. You do get your staple neutrals in here to kind of build the look. So you get a mix. You get some warm tones, you get a couple of berries, a few like cooler toned grays, but you get very subtle pops of color, like this pink, this shimmer right here, this purple right here. Even these two shadows, which kind of look neutral, look really pretty on the eyes because they almost have like a little bit of a shift to them. So again, if you're someone who just doesn't want something like the Barbie palette or In the Springs, if these are too bright for you, try this one because it's a little bit softer, more subtle, but you can definitely do something kind of interesting for more of a toned down look that adds color in a little bit of a softer way. If you feel like these two palettes are way too vibrant for you, I totally get it because even though they have a mix of neutrals and colorful shades, the neutrals and the colorful shades are super vibrant, really, really intense. So I think this palette is more ideal for someone who likes more of a subtle, subdued look, but still likes to put a spin on like your everyday eyeshadow look. I also think this palette has really interesting textures in it, and the shimmer shadows look so nice on the eyes. I think when it comes to this palette, it makes it look like you put a lot more effort into your eyeshadow than you did, which is kind of nice if you're someone who doesn't want to sit there and apply a ton of shadow or doesn't have a ton of time to do different color combinations. This really does make it look like you put that time and effort into your eye look, but it's not hard to use or hard to work with. Okay guys, that is everything I wanted to share with you in today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below, what is your favorite palette from ColourPop? Whether it is like a go-to palette you wear all the time or it's a little bit more unique, let me know which one is your favorite. If you like eyeshadow palette related videos, I'll link a few more on the screen for you guys right here. Otherwise, I'll see you very soon with a new video. Bye.